This is the Which Came First quiz. Test yourself and see if you can guess what came into existence first. Keep track of your score and share it in the comments at the end. Let's get started. Which came first, Coca-Cola or Pepsi? The answer is Coca-Cola. It came out a few years earlier. Which came first, the iPhone or an Android phone? The answer is the iPhone. It launched a year earlier. Which came first, peanut butter or jam? That would be jam. It's been around way longer. Which came first, Marvel Comics or DC Comics? The answer is DC Comics. They launched 5 years earlier. Which came first, McDonald's or Burger King? Correct, it was McDonald's. It opened over a decade earlier. Which came first, the light bulb or the telephone? That would be the telephone. It came a few years earlier. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? That's right, the egg came first, by millions of years. Which came first, Minecraft or Roblox? Roblox came first. It launched a few years earlier. Which came first, the Statue of Liberty or the Eiffel Tower? That's right, the Statue of Liberty was finished first. Which came first, Pringles or Doritos? Doritos came first, just beat Pringles by 2 years. Which came first, the pencil or the ballpoint pen? The pencil came first, by a few hundred years. Which came first, Nike or Adidas? Adidas came first. It was around well before Nike showed up. Which came first, Microsoft or Apple? Microsoft beat Apple by just 1 year. Which came first, Netflix or YouTube? Netflix came first, by almost a decade. Which came first, the Barbie doll or Lego bricks? Lego came first. The bricks launched just before Barbie. Which came first, the telescope or the microscope? The microscope. It came about a decade earlier. Which came first, Yahoo or Google? The answer is Yahoo. It launched 4 years before Google. Which came first, Skittles or M&Ms? It was M&Ms. They've been around since the 40s. Which came first, the toothbrush or the hairbrush? The toothbrush came first, by more than 1,000 years. Which came first, Donkey Kong or Pac-Man? Pac-Man came first. It hit arcades just a year earlier. Which came first, dinosaurs or cavemen? Dinosaurs, by about 60 million years. Which came first, the Tooth Fairy or Santa Claus? The answer is Santa. His story goes back centuries. Which came first, ketchup or mayonnaise? Ketchup came first. It's been around since the 1600s. Which came first, twerking or the moonwalk? The moonwalk came first. MJ made it famous in the 80s. Which came first, Twitter or Instagram? Twitter was first. It launched 4 years earlier. Which came first, pizza or ice cream? It was ice cream. It's been around since ancient times. Which came first, zippers or Velcro? Zippers came first, invented decades before Velcro. Which came first, Snapchat or TikTok? Snapchat came first. It launched 5 years earlier. Which came first, the word orange or the fruit? The fruit came first. The word for the color came later. Which came first, Facebook or the first YouTube video? Facebook came first. It launched about a year earlier. Which came first, cheesecake or chocolate cake? That's right, cheesecake. It dates all the way back to ancient Greece. Which came first, the Big Mac or the Whopper? The Whopper came first, by a full decade. Which came first, South Park or Family Guy? That's South Park. It premiered 2 years earlier. Which came first, the selfie or the selfie stick? The selfie came first, by more than a century. Which came first, the electric toaster or sliced bread? The toaster actually came first. It was around before sliced bread existed. Which came first, Pokemon trading cards or the video game? The video game came first. The cards came a bit later. Which came first, skateboards or roller skates? Roller skates did, by nearly 2 centuries. Which came first, soda in bottles or sodas in cans? Bottles came first. Canned soda came much later. Which came first, Bluetooth or Wi-Fi? Bluetooth came first. It was released a year earlier. Which came first, popcorn or potato chips? The answer is popcorn. It's been around for thousands of years. Which came first, arcade machines or vending machines? Vending machines were first by a couple thousand years. Which came first, the Ferris wheel or the roller coaster? Roller coasters came first. They go back to the 1800s. Which came first, toilet paper or flushing toilets? Actually, flushing toilets came first. Toilet paper came much later. Which came first, the DQ Blizzard or the McFlurry? That's the Blizzard. It launched a decade before the McFlurry. Which came first, bubblegum or trading cards? Trading cards came first. Bubblegum showed up years later. Which came first, Justin Bieber's debut album or Taylor Swift's? Taylor's came first. She released hers 3 years before Justin. Tell us in the comments how many questions you got correct. And if you had fun with this quiz, please give the video a thumbs up. Thank you so much for playing.